Welcome back to TBRD. Some time ago on the vlog, I did a cold weather riding tips. Really, it was more about gear and how I ride in sub-freezing temperatures year-round, really without the use of any heated gear. I had a couple of questions on that vlog, and somebody asked me to shoot some more cold weather riding information because they had some additional questions. So this week on the vlog, we are heading to work. I waited to find a good day. As you can see, it is currently 28 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's properly cold. That temperature is going to drop as I get closer to work. So as I was saying, this week on the vlog, I'm going to be going over some more cold weather riding information and tips, hopefully to answer those questions. Freeze warning, freeze warning. It is definitely freeze warning worthy this morning. Alright, so first things first, you will notice on my TFT in the top right corner, it says road. If you are riding a bike that is equipped with advanced electronics, you want to make sure that your settings when you're riding in the sub-freezing temperatures are set in such a way that you have the benefit of your traction control and all the electronic supports and riding aids that you can use that come on your bike. That is because you do not know when it is cold out, certainly below freezing, when you're going to come across some slippery sections of road. And I've got another tip when it comes to that. You'll see this morning my road is clear, and I'm not sure how well the camera picks it up, but there are other mornings when I ride that I need to be extra cautious, obviously, because you could have some isolated ice, but what makes it difficult is on the days that they salt and brine. So if there's moisture in the air or it has been damp overnight and it is sub-freezing, it's usually a no-no. So where I live, a lot of times we're right around that freeze mark, and it dips below freezing overnight through much of the winter. So when it rains, which it often will, it'll rain at night, you're going to go out and on the road you're going to see a ton of salt and brine because they're trying to prevent that road surface from freezing. I don't like to ride if I know that it's been excessively moist overnight because those conditions are ripe for black ice and slippery riding surfaces. I have been caught out in it before, where I got several miles down the road, and then depending on where you're at and the temperature dropping or being colder in regional locations, that road surface freezes. And riding around on ice is nowhere that you want to be. It's one thing to have your back tire sliding out. I knew it was going to be a long ride to work that day when my front tire was sliding out in different sections. So, have your, if you have them, electronics kicked in and set to, you see I've got mine on the road setting, which pretty much maximizes my ABS, traction control, etc., so on and so forth. The other question I got was about tires, and I don't know anybody who rides with a separate set of tires in the winter on their motorcycle, in terms of like a snow tire, so to speak. I know that there are folks who will switch up their tires, maybe have some different selection depending on the time of year, but totally not necessary. I ride with my usual stock tires, a sport touring tire that I ride all 4 seasons, and I don't have any issues with it. But when we're speaking about tires, just in general, the same rules apply as they apply any other time of year. If your tires are cold, you're not going to have a lot of traction, and even in these of the coldest of days, your tires are still going to warm up. If you get off of your bike after riding a half hour and it's sub-freezing, put your hands on your tires, you're going to feel that they are plenty warm. So you want to make sure your tires are good and warmed up, but it goes beyond that. When it is cold, it is time to just acknowledge that it's time to slow down. You certainly don't want to be pushing your bike and leaning excessively and riding excessively hard when it's below freezing for a number of reasons, but most of which is the conditions are not optimal. So you may find, as I said, there's some slippery parts of road, and that's not where you want to be pushing it. So I think we can all agree when it's colder out, it's time to just kind of slow down a little bit. I like riding in the winter because it extends my riding season. It's pretty. There's something about being out in the cold and just enjoying the ride. I think maybe it's because of just everything slowed down a little bit, at least for me when I'm riding. But that does bring me to another point, which is not a lot of motorcyclists out in the winter. Our four-wheel friends are not necessarily looking out for motorcycles this time of year. So you want to make sure that you're aware of that, as you would any time of year, but maybe just a little heightened sense of awareness that, you know, some of our friends in their cars and trucks may not be expecting to see motorcycles out here, and it's really easy to overlook someone when you're changing lanes or things of that nature if you're not looking for motorcyclists. Another thing to keep in mind when you're riding in the cold, especially if you're on a work commute and it's a commute that you make regularly, is you're going to know where the wet patches are. And what I mean by that is there's natural springs and natural areas that are prone to water seepage when it comes to the road. And one of the ones for me when I commute to work regularly is the traffic circle closest to my place of employment. It's got like a raised bed in the center. It's like a retaining wall mulch, and there's water that consistently seeps out of that traffic circle, and it is quite the hazard because the traffic circle freezes regularly, and also the circle itself is off camber, which is its own obstacle in itself. So you've got an off-cambered road that is frequently frozen. It makes for a very bad combination. So my point is, if you are commuting, you're going to kind of know the regular spots that are prone to water seepage or to have water in the roads. The other thing I would tell you about riding in the winter is you need to be prepared to maintain your vehicle, right? I wash my bike at least once a week, but frequently twice a week during the winter, and that is because of the salt and the brine. So it really depends. I'm getting lucky this week because it's been an excessively dry week overnight. They're not brining and salting the roads. So I'm going to get a whole week out of my last wash. Wow, fellow motorcyclists on a 30-degree interstate ride. Sorry about that, just excited to see someone out there. So, yeah, as I was saying, you got to wash your bike quite a bit if you're going to ride it. I don't believe that you need to park your bike all winter because of salt and corrosion. I know there's a lot of controversy, not really controversy around it. I mean, the fact is the brine and the salt is terrible for everything. But if you are taking precautions to really clean your bike up, I think you're going to be fine. I've done it my whole life, and I've never really suffered with any excessive amounts of rust or anything on my bike. I will say, if you're riding a bike like mine that has a chain drive, you might get some surface rust, spots of rust on your chain very subtly, nothing serious. Mine usually cleans right up when the winter riding season is done. I'm cleaning my chain really every week too as I wash, so I'm really scrubbing that down and then re-waxing it each week, which is really about every 200 miles. But I don't do it based on mileage. I do it based on how much salt and brine my bike is collecting. So on a week like this that it's very dry, I'm fine. There's probably some residual salt on the road, but you can just tell. I mean, you can tell on a day that they brine the roads and you ride, when you get to work or you get home, your bike is covered in it. And right now my bike's very clean, and it's remained clean all week. But the point is, you're going to have to put some extra effort into maintaining your bike if you're going to ride year-round. And I think it's time well spent, because it extends my riding season. Really, I'm riding year-round, which is great. I know that some of my viewers out there don't have that option. They're a bit further up north, kind of like where I grew up. And when it's snowing, it's snowing. There's not much you can do if the roads are packed with snow and ice. But nonetheless, I think if you're willing to ride when it's cold, you're going to extend your riding season at least for a couple of months in both directions in the spring and the fall. One of the other things you got to watch out for when you're riding in the winter are potholes. The road tends to get blown apart with the freeze cycle. You can see right here in between these lanes That's a prime area, and the reason for that is that's where the seam of your concrete or pavement is, and in those seams is where your water's going to get in. And when the water gets in, you'll see on the edge again where there's another seam, it starts freezing and thawing and it breaks the road apart, so you can get some real nasty potholes, and it's more prevalent, as you know, during the winter and this time of year. So that's something else you need to be watching for. And just like I was saying about the water seepage on the road, or your areas that are prone to be more damp than others, it's the same thing when it comes to potholes. If you're doing a regular commute, you're going to know where these hazards are, and it's something to keep in mind and keep your eye out for. One of the advantages, however, to riding in the winter is you have a really good line of sight, because there are no leaves on trees, and all the foliage and other greenery has died off for the year. So I find that I have much greater line of sight. It's much easier to spot animals, which are another hazard during the winter. So that is one benefit. You see I got a warning light on my TFT. It's actually telling me that my key fob battery is low, which is frustrating because I just changed it, so I'm not sure what that is all about. I'll have to try out another battery and see maybe if the one I got in there was just bust, but we shall see. Alright, that is gonna do it for this short little vlog about some additional cold weather riding tactics and tips. As always, I appreciate your support. Drop me a comment, say hello, tell me about your cold weather riding tips or cold weather riding experiences. If you are so inclined, I'd ask that you like and subscribe to the channel. And as I like to say, until next time, keep the throttle back, rubber down, enjoy the ride.